Hello, everyone. We are glad to have you with us today. Thank you for joining. We will allow just another minute or so more folks can start trickling in, and then we'll get started. Okay. Well, it looks like we have quite a few people attending. We want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Aurelie Diaz, and I am a technical advisor in the Affordable Rental Housing Division. And this is the August 2025 ORCA mid-year training. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. Next slide, please. So we have a variety of speakers who have a lot of great information to share with us today. We are very excited to hear from them and the content that they have brought today. We have Kate Allen, Nathan Christensen, Daniel Miller, and Tara Basses. So we're very happy to have them with us today and hear what they have to say. Next slide, please. Before we get started, we do want to take a minute to get grounded in some process agreements. We practice these 6 agreements in our department and throughout all of OHCS. And so we want to say thank you for participating with us in fostering an inclusive environment. We want to encourage everyone to stay engaged, to speak your truth responsibly, listen to understand, be willing to do things differently and experience discomfort. Very, very important. And lastly, expect and accept non-closure. So ahead of time, thank you for participating. Hopefully these are really great reminders for all of us. Next slide, please. And before we get started, just some quick housekeeping reminders. This webinar has a Q&A function instead of our normal chat. So at the top of your screen, you should be seeing that Q&A button. And by clicking on that button, you should be able to enter any questions that you have throughout this meeting. Although the chat function isn't available for the webinar, we are still dedicated to answering your questions. There are moderators working behind the scenes diligently who are going to be receiving any questions that you do submit, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can. We do ask that if you can please submit the same question once, please, but you will be able to submit multiple questions if needed. Uh, if for some reason we're unable to answer your question during this training, we will make sure to follow up with you at a later time. But if you do know that your question is specific to your project or perhaps to your organization, go ahead and make a note of that in the Q&A, and someone from either the technical advisor team or from the applications team will reach out to you and provide support. You'll also notice throughout the session that we have polls and quizzes that are built in. And we call these our knowledge checks. And these are going to allow us to keep things interactive, but it's also going to help us check in on how well the information is landing and make sure that this is content that is relevant for you. So when we do get to these portions of the webinar, you'll see a pop-up box that'll show up on your screen, and there will be a total of 3 questions per knowledge check. So you can easily click through each question using the arrows at the bottom of the box. Just a reminder, your answers are not going to be public. We're not going to be sharing your answers. But a very neat feature is that the pop-up box will let you know right away if you answered the question correctly or not. So something pretty neat. So ahead of time, we appreciate your participation in these polls and these quizzes. Next slide, please. And this is the agenda, everything that we're going to go over today. As you can see, we have a lot of information to cover in today's webinar. But the purpose of today's training is to provide some helpful reminders and some tips that will help you successfully navigate the ORCA process and each step in that process. Our presenters will also describe how the recent ORCA updates that were approved in July impact this process. And we're going to assure that you leave this training knowing how to get the information and the support that you need as you're navigating ORCA. So there's definitely great content coming your way. Next slide, please. All right, so before we dive into the main content of this webinar, we want to start off with this pre-training pulse check. So we've prepared a few quick questions. You should be seeing those pop up on your screen. And we just want to get a sense of where everyone is starting from, how you feel about the ORCA process right now. So no pressure, no right or wrong answers here. And we're going to give everyone a minute or so to answer. Question number 1, how confident do you feel about working in ORCA? Perhaps you're not confident, or maybe you are confident. We want to know how you feel. Question number 2, how clear is your understanding of where to find ORCA-related information? Is it not clear or very clear? Please let us know. And then question number 3, how well do you understand the role of technical advisors in your work? Do you not understand? Or maybe you do understand, and perhaps you've worked with a technical advisor before. We're going to give it a minute. I see the answers coming in. Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for participating in this poll. It'll definitely help us a lot during this training. So to dive into the main content, I want to introduce Kate Allen. She is the Technical Advisor Manager, and she is going to get us started in talking about ORCA. Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you, Aurelie, and good afternoon, everybody. Really good to be here with you. Great turnout, and really pleased to see that many of our partners that we have worked with over the last year or more in the ORCA are here with us. My name is Kate Allen. I am the manager of the technical advisor team. What you have in front of you, of course, is probably a familiar graphic. When we launched the Oregon Centralized Application, fondly known as the ORCA, it's one of the primary ways the state advances housing progress. Through the ORCA, Investments that boost housing supply are reviewed against standards that ensure projects are designed and built in ways that help make life more affordable, strengthen local economies, and are responsive to housing needs. This centralized process is an always open system that accepts applications on a rolling basis. Applications are reviewed against standards, including cost controls, readiness, and policy goals. When we launched the ORCA in the spring of 2024, Oregon Housing recorded detailed trainings that are a really great place to get started if you are brand new to the ORCA process. All those trainings can be found on the ORCA main webpage. A link to that will be dropped coming up here shortly. With this session, as Areli mentioned, we are sharing updates. We're emphasizing some of the important things we've learned with you about successfully working in the ORCA. We encourage you to refer to the Get Help with ORCA section of the ORCA landing page for trainings and tutorials on the process. Next slide, please. So the ORCA process is the ORCA is the process to access all funding for your affordable rental housing development. It is organized step by step to build Oregon Housing's understanding of your project. It is developer driven and intended to meet your project where it is, from early concept to shovel ready. Some particular features of the ORCA is that developers can engage with OHCS staff to discuss early project concepts. That is either through submitting an intake or engaging with the technical advisors. Developers have opportunities to receive input, feedback, and guidance to help work through each step of the process. Staff and developers have more interactions to collaboratively look at unique circumstances with projects and help develop realistic timelines and milestones. A primary feature of the ORCA is that our decision body, the Housing Stability Council, gains a comprehensive understanding of the proposed impacts of projects, including the outcomes intended to advance equity and racial justice outcomes. And together, we develop a pipeline of projects across the state. So in the Q&A, you should be able to see a link to the ORCA landing page. That's the place where you can get started. There are several sections there. Get help with the ORCA. We'll refer a little later when we talk about resources, also finding them on that page. And with that, I think we are ready for the next section, and my colleagues will take over and talk about pre-qualification.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Bassis with the applications team, and I'm going to talk briefly about pre-qualification and intake and share some commonly asked questions and reminders. So OHCS pre-qualifies sponsors, developers, and consultants to establish eligibility for received state investments. Pre-qualification looks at portfolio performance, developer experience, and the legal standing of applicants and the development team. This step is necessary before moving past impact assessment. However, it can be completed before an intake submission. Pre-qualification does not guarantee funding. For pre-qualification, one submission per organization is sufficient. Single asset entity projects do require the parent company to pre-qualify. Applicants are asked to provide a full list of OHCS funded projects, development experience in Oregon, and note any key leadership changes. Additionally, the OHCS integrity certification form is used to evaluate good legal standing. This document asks questions about moral turpitude, financial standing, and debarment. This form does need to be submitted with each renewed pre-qualification. And reminder, renew your pre-qualification annually. As the expiration date is approaching, you will receive notification from the applications team. Next slide, please. Intake. So the intake is the single front door for ORCA located on our website. This is a starting point for all capital funding. The intake helps OHCS provide early support to applicants, build a pipeline of affordable housing projects, and forecast funding requests. No project is too early. Submit early concepts before you have a site, a budget, or even a unit count. The intake is about starting the conversation with us. In this intake form, applicants are asked to provide the basics: applicant details, project concepts, financials, and partners. This gets your project in our system. The benefit for you is early partnership with us. So OHCS meets weekly to review new intake submissions and talk internally about the early pipeline of projects. We flag issues before they become a problem, like funding availability or timing issues. We connect you to resources you may not know about, and this saves you time and money. So for more information, as Kate said, the Get Help with ORCA website or the web page is a great place to go. And there's also training videos on that site of pre-qualification and intake. And don't hesitate to reach out to the applications team if you have any questions about this. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Kate and Tara. That was great information. We're going to pause for just a moment to do our first knowledge check. We just want to make sure that the information that we just covered, that we understand it and that it's really sinking in. So you should be seeing the questions pop up on your screen. There we go. So question number 1, how often should my entity submit a pre-qualification request? Is it annually, never, or with each application? Question number 2, do I need to submit an updated integrity form with my annual pre-qualification renewal request? Yes, no, or maybe? And question number 3, I have an update to my intake. Who should I reach out to? Is it anyone that I know at OHCS, the applications team, or perhaps technical advisors? So there's no grading in these questions. We just want to make sure that we're understanding the information. So we'll give just a moment to allow people to answer. All right. I'm seeing a lot of responses come through. Let's take a moment and review the answers. Hopefully everyone got 100%. So question number 1, how often should my entity submit a pre-qualification request? The answer is annually. As Tara mentioned, entities need to renew their pre-qualifications every year, and she did say that when the expiration date arrives or is approaching, the applications team will be reaching out. So hopefully we got that question correct. Number 2, do I need to submit an updated integrity form with my annual pre-qualification request? And the answer is yes. The last question, I have an update to my intake. Who should I reach out to? Well, instead of going to just anyone that you know at OHCS, there is a process in place. So the applications team would be the best resource for you to reach out to in most cases, if you have changes or updates to make to your intake. That being said, technical advisors do work very closely with the applications team. So there may be times when referrals happen between the two teams. So if you happened to answer technical advisor, you are technically correct. At any time, if you are unsure, go ahead and reach out to a technical advisor and they can help you connect to the right place. So it was a bit of a tricky question, but hopefully it allows us to highlight the collaboration between the two teams and let you know that we are here to help you. So how did we do? Hopefully everyone did a great job on these knowledge checks. We're going to continue with our presentation. Our next presenter is Daniel Miller, and he's going to talk to us about impact assessment.
Hi, everyone. I am Daniel Miller of the applications team, and today I'm going to discuss some interesting things where we see applicants may need a little extra help and clarity with Procorum and impact assessment. So I'll be going over basic Procorum rundown, file location, naming convention, deleting files or delete files, file versions, and then a note on invoice task and charges. What I'm presenting today is a high-level summary. We have more detailed trainings and materials on our website, so I encourage you to check those out. So to get us started, overview of Procorum. Procorum is a secure portal, a tool to manage documents and complete assigned tasks, allows applicants to receive notifications about the project, and tracks project progress in real time. Let's go to the next slide. So next up, wanted to touch on file location and naming convention. An issue we commonly see is files being uploaded to the incorrect location in people's work centers. I want to bring attention to the location field underneath the task description in each task. Here you'll find exactly where we prefer files to be uploaded, most beginning with where to submit a document for evaluation, followed by a file path indicating the exact location where documents are to be uploaded. Note that sometimes you'll need to select the field to see text that may extend beyond the field border. Next is our preferred file naming convention. On screen, you'll see the essential convention that we would prefer to see for all files uploaded to Procorum. Essentially, what we're looking for is file name underscore ORCA 2025 or whatever year it is underscore, and then your project name, preferably with no spaces in between words. If you have a document which involves multiple files, say for instance, if you have site review plans, we would like to see you use a number following the document name and then keep the rest of the file naming convention. So for instance, that might look like site plans 1 underscore ORCA 2025 underscore best project ever. And then the next one could be site plans 2 underscore ORCA 2025 and so on. Also on screen, you'll see the path to the OHCS document library / manuals and resources. That's where you can locate our guide that is titled the ORCA Naming Convention. All right, let's go to the next slide. So delete files and file versions or versioning. So we have a method that you can use if you upload a file to an incorrect location in your work center, or if you would simply like a file to be removed from your work center. We use this method because Procorum users are not able to move or delete files. So next to each file in your work center, you'll see a details button. When you click into that button, you'll see the details page of the file. You can see the file name field, and that's where you're able to modify the file name. If you want a file removed, simply add delete to the file name. And we prefer you put delete in all caps so it brings our attention to it. You can even change the whole file name to simply say delete if you don't need to refer back to that file. Once you're completed, renaming the file, make sure to press save. Another interesting feature is file versioning. This is the ability to upload an updated file to an existing file in your work center, which then creates a version 2 of the file. And that could go even beyond that. You get a version 2, version 3, and so on. In order for this to work, it is essential that the file name and file type are exactly the same as the file in your work center. Otherwise, it won't upload properly or upload as a separate file. This is a useful method as it may reduce the need to have files removed from your work center by using the delete method. It's also useful in that it stores all previous versions of that file. So if there was ever a need to refer back to a previous document, it would be readily accessible for you. All these methods of proper file location, file naming convention, the delete file method, and file versioning help to keep your work center organized and reduce the need for us to send projects back for cure on things such as misnamed files or files uploaded to incorrect locations. And let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Lastly, what I wanted to touch on is invoice tasks and charges. So application charges payments take several days to clear. This is standard banking process, and we cannot expedite this process. Once the completion task is checked, the application team requests an invoice. Upon receiving the invoice task will be added to your work center and the invoice will be uploaded to that task. Once the invoice is paid and the invoice task is marked as complete, the payment process through our system will take roughly 48 to 72 hours to complete. If a payment is submitted via paper check, then the process takes much longer, stretching to 2 or more weeks, if not longer. Once payment is processed on the OHCS side, the task is approved in Procorum. The project will then move to administrative review to check for completeness, and projects, of course, will be notified when the review process begins. And that today is all I have covering components of the impact assessment step. Thank you, and I believe we have Kate coming on next.
Thanks, Daniel. That was some great overview of some important things that we've learned with our partners through the development, through the ORCA process. We had 2 housekeeping notes. First, please, we're not able to manage the raise hand function in the presentation today. So if you have a question, please go ahead and use that Q&A function and put your question in there. Can we move, please, to the next slide? Back 1 slide, please. Mid-year updates. There we go. Thanks so much. So here we'll review some of the recent ORCA updates that impact new projects submitting an intake or in-impact assessment. Those would be projects either working in impact assessment work centers or on the wait lists. So we'll tick through a couple of these and then we'll use some slides to illustrate a little bit more on several others. We implemented recently a leverage test. So as part of Oregon Housing's broader cost control efforts, we've implemented a leverage test requiring applicants in the financial eligibility review to demonstrate efforts to include non-state funding and private debt. At the impact assessment stage, projects must provide OHCS with information about efforts they have made to leverage state investments with other private or public funds. Where sufficient detail is not provided to justify the percentage of state subsidy in the project, the production analyst will require the applicant to provide documentation in addition to the narrative. So that is covered in detail in the update to the ORCA manual. And in fact, there's even a redlined version included there on the Get Help with the ORCA page that you'll hear us refer to quite a lot. Additionally, we have implemented a gap-only funding cap, again, aimed at controlling cost and the most effective and efficient use of our resources. We have implemented a $35 million cap for gap-only projects. That is projects that are not using private activity bond, 4%, or 9% LIHTC. The guidance there is that projects over 50 units should pursue one of the structures utilizing tax credits. And again, the specifics and the particular way you should be looking at is guided in the ORCA manual. So with regard to the PSH program resources, for projects and teams who are enrolled in the PSH Institute and will apply for project funding through the ORCA, units funded with OHCS PSH program resources are not subject to other ORCA subsidy caps and will be evaluated in line with current and historic project data as part of financial review in the financial eligibility and underwriting steps of ORCA. In general, the policy for ORCA developers and co-developers is that a developer may not have more than 2 projects in any one ORCA application step at a time. That is impact assessment, financial eligibility, and commitment. However, this policy now excludes preservation projects. So you are able to bring in and submit intakes for a new project that is a preservation project, even if you have currently 2 projects in impact assessment. And you are not currently limited on the number of preservation projects that you can put on our radar. So again, refer to the ORCA manual on the website for the integration of these updates. And then in the next several slides, we'll review changes to the geographic distribution of ARH resources and the waitlist policy. So if we could shift to the next slide, please. So we will drop a link to the interactive map that determines an ORCA project's geographic designation. The geographic map or the interactive map allows applicants to search a property address to determine which of these designations it falls into. Metro being Portland metropolitan area, multi-county. Rural clearly is geographically most of the rest of Oregon. The designation of non-metro urban areas designates those larger cities across the state. And then suburban or small city catches the smaller communities. So folks have a lot of questions or have asked questions about how the geographies are determined. So we'll just walk through that. This is also described on that website. First, OHCS separates the census tracts in the Portland Tri-County area into the metro grouping. Next, OHCS evaluates housing density by census tract. Those tracts with 480 or more housing units per square mile are tentatively considered non-metro urban tracts. Less than 480, but more than 64 housing units per square mile are small city or suburban, and less than 64 units is considered rural. Next, OHCS uses the National Center for Health Statistic County Schema, the NCHS, to better understand the economic and community context surrounding a given tract. 96.5% of tracts matched their county geography, example being rural tract and rural county designation. Tracts with urban density in a non-metro county are shifted down to a suburban or small city designation. For example, downtown Klamath Falls has a high enough housing density to meet the non-metro classification, but is flipped to suburban due to Klamath County's classification as non-metro. And then finally, census tracts designated as NA are due to data availability limitations from the U.S. Census American Community Survey. Using this methodology, we now identify 4 regions that pull out the truly rural areas and allocate dedicated funding where it's so clear that the set-aside is needed. So as we've discussed, metro is red, non-metro is green. Those are census tracts with more than 480 units of housing per square mile within a metro county, as defined by National Center for Health Statistics, and not in the Portland Tri-County area. Suburban or small city purple census tracts with more than 64, less than 480 units per square mile, not in the large central metro county or an urban tract in a micropolitan rural county. And rural is blue, census tracts with less than 64 units per mile, not in a large central metro county. We'll move to the next slide to talk about how those geographic designations break resources into set-asides for each. This adopted allocation methodology is based on equal weighting of the Oregon Housing Needs Analysis and housing cost burden of Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities across the state. This is how we get to 41% in the metro, for example. The allocations displayed above are applicable to LIFT and several other resources. As you can see from the graphic, we have held back GAP resources anticipated for 2026 9% LIHTC, and for recently passed House Bill 3149 modular housing, which is currently in rulemaking. The graphic also displays a 20% culturally specific organization set aside. This is for culturally specific organizations. Those are first funded from the regional allocation, and then if the regional resources are fully subscribed, we would be able to move that project forward with the resources dedicated to culturally specific organizations. The remaining resources that flow into geographic regions. And we can move to the next slide to look at the full table of currently available development resources. This table can be found on the page of the ORCA website, where we talk about resources and the wait list. That is on the main ORCA webpage. One of the links will take you to a section called resource allocations. This table is updated monthly following the Housing Stability Council on the ORCA Affordable Housing Pipeline section of that ORCA webpage. This displays the geographic region resource availability, and also shows us other set-asides, including for PSH Institute projects. We've got home funds there, set-asides for veteran housing, and for Native Nations rental housing development. You'll see in the table the projected private activity bond allocation for the full biennium, and then the current availability of other resources, such as agricultural worker housing tax credits, Oregon affordable housing tax credits, 501c3 bonds, and then the operational resources available for PSH, including rent and services, as well as the push sellers tax credit. We can move on to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit about the waitlist policy. So when OHCS subscribes all available or eligible resources for either a specific funding source needed by a project or for a set-aside region or category in which the project is located, applications are placed on a waitlist. OHCS will continue to accept application intake forms to continue to establish a funding pipeline. Staff will continue to move eligible intake applications into impact assessment as applicants desire, and they will continue to review completed impact assessment applications. Projects are placed on the waitlist in order of final, complete, and correct impact assessment application. That is, date and time stamped. If an application is sent back to a sponsor for updates, the cure process outlined in the ORCA manual applies to determine the positioning on the wait list. OHCS will update and publish the active wait list monthly. Once a project is determined to have met impact assessment standards, if all available or eligible resources are funding, we have covered this previously. Let's see where we are. When additional funding is made available. So projects on the wait list, as we said, we review monthly, and then when additional funding is made available, either through new resources flowing into the ORCA, as we have recently experienced following the legislative session, OHCS will directly notify projects on the wait list in order of their place on the wait list about that available funding. A project sponsor would then have 2 weeks from that notification to indicate to OHCS that they are ready to accept the recommended resources and to update materials as necessary to move to a Housing Stability Council approval. On a 6-month cadence, OHCS will require applicants to complete project update tasks in their work center to maintain their position on the wait list. This could include updated versions of the pro forma or additional documents, application materials that might be required by any changes in programs that a project might be applying to. So you would look in your Procorum Work Center for soon for a new feature that will provide these updates. So just going to cover quickly a couple of frequently asked questions. A project can only be on one wait list. It is either going to be on the gap only wait list or a tax credit wait list. Wait list movement adheres to the geographic and culturally specific organizations set aside. So when we go to the next slide, which we will in just a minute, you will see, and when you go onto the website and look at the wait lists, you will see that there's now a column that designates the wait list order that with that regional applicability. So again, we are, I think, dropping a link to the page on the waitlist, pipeline and waitlist page, where you can track the most up-to-date information about currently available resources. And we'll have a look at what that wait list looks like in the next slide. These are really just examples. You're going to get your best view of this on that page of the ORCA webpage. And there is the column off to the left that displays the order of the project with respect to the geographic designation. So as an ongoing basis, please, if there are questions that you have about this, drop those into the Q&A. We'll have our experts either take a look at those or follow up after the training. And it's now my pleasure to turn the mic over to our colleague, Nathan.
Thank you, Kate. I want to echo the sentiment that my colleagues have shared, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's exciting to see so many partners joining us for this update. As Kate mentioned, I am Nathan Christensen. I'm a member of our affordable rental housing team, and I focus mainly on operations. I'm part of the team that maintains the pro forma document that you use to apply for our programs here at OHCS. So today, I'd like to share some topics from our most received inquiries about the pro forma documents. Today, as you can see on the screen, we'll be chatting about these topics. Firstly, using the most up-to-date pro forma template. We'll talk about the colors in the pro forma and what did the individual colors mean. We will chat about the rents tabs. The rent and income tab in the pro forma can look a little daunting sometimes, so we'll try to tackle that a little bit today. And then there's a note here about the subsidy limits, and wanted to clarify that. Just a quick point that I'll address now. The pro forma document includes all of the updated subsidy limits that were rolled out in July with our ORCA 2.1 update. So proceed confidently knowing that the most recent subsidy limits are reflected in those documents. Next slide, please. So bear with me here. I know there's some small print, but I wanted to draw your attention to a few things. Firstly, in order to make sure that you have the most compatible, most updated version of the pro forma, you'll want to check your version number on the instructions tab of the document. As you can see in that middle small red box, this one here is version 2025.5. Depending on the program that you applied for and when you applied, you may actually see this version 2025.5, but it could also be 2025.6 or 2025.7. If you notice that you're using an older version, please check in your work center and make sure make sure that you haven't received an alert message or notification about upgrading to a newer version of the pro forma. Please also note in the other box at the top, we have the colors highlighted. Each of the colors is designed to facilitate completing the pro forma. The black or dark gray is not applicable to the version of the pro forma that you're using. Do not enter data in that field. The next white, very, very light blue tint to it, is what's considered an unrestricted answer. Please complete these fields. They may be format specific. It says unrestricted in the description, but just note that it could be a date, a dollar amount, a percentage. So there may be some sort of formatting preference that's encoded in the pro forma. So when it says unrestricted, just wanted to clarify that we may be looking for a particular type of information. The blue is a drop-down list. Please choose the most applicable selection from that the provided list. And then you'll see the gray at the bottom, as noted, that contains a formula. So what we do in those cells is we try to leverage the information that you've already provided to do some calculations. There are some other instances where it'll simply be a locked cell, but just know that if there's a gray cell, you can't type directly into it. So try to provide as much information in the associated tab or fields so that we can calculate that information there. Thanks. And next slide, please. All right, this is the much loved rents and incomes tab. We get a lot of questions about this, and this is the version from the I believe the financial eligibility pro forma. It is designed to basically start in that first top left cell and work your way from left to right as best you can. Please follow the order of units from the project details tab. That's the second tab at the bottom. You'll see where it says project details. And if you filled it out before, you know that there's site specific information where you'll fill out information about all your site A units, then all your site B units, etc. And so as you go to the rents and incomes tab, please complete all the information for your site A units first, and then progress through B, C, etc. as applicable. Another question that we receive is toward the right-hand side, about 2/3 of the way across the document, you'll see the information about the project base rental subsidy amount. If you have project-based subsidies, please make sure you include those amounts as they apply to each type of unit that you have. This actually is the impact assessment version. Once you get to financial eligibility, you'll notice that the information pulls a lot of previously entered information, and so it has a lot fewer user input fields. But again, you'll want to proceed in that top left to right, and then work your way down the rows as applicable. If you have questions about the pro forma that you're working on, you can access a smart sheet for pro forma questions through the Work Center. That way, we can address those. The PA, production assistant, can then reach out to me or other members of our pro forma team and determine if it might just be a fluke regarding the data entry, or if there's something that we need to change to best help you capture the details of your application. If you have any questions about the pro forma while your application is in financial eligibility, feel free to reach directly out to your production analyst, and they will see if it's something they can help you through, or they'll recruit me or a member of our team to help you proceed quickly through the application. We appreciate your attention to detail with filling out all this information, and look forward to helping you through additional projects and processes. And at this time, I believe Aurelie will go with our next knowledge check.
Thank you, Nathan. All right, so we are back for round 2 of these knowledge checks. We just covered a lot of information, a lot of great topics. So we want to see how well you remember what was just covered. So you should see the box pop up on your screen. We've got 3 questions to go over based on the slides that we covered. So question number 1, where can I view the current ORCA waitlist? Is it pro quorum, on the ORCA webpage, or in the ORCA manual? Where can we find that waitlist? We all want to know. Question number 2, how can I find out if my project is considered metro, non-metro urban, suburban small city, or rural designation? Is it through the OHCS geographic designation map? Do we ask a technical advisor, or do we ask a friend? How do we find that out? And question number 3, how can I see what version of the Performa I am using? Is it the version number on the instructions tab? Do we look to see when it was saved, or do we ask a technical advisor? So I see the answers coming through. We're just going to give a minute or so to allow more folks to respond. Okay. All right, well, the responses are slowing down, so we'll take a moment to review the questions one by one and see how we did. So question number 1, where can I view the current ORCA waitlist? The answer is on the ORCA webpage. And I do believe that there was a link to that webpage that was shared in the Q&A. So go ahead and check that waitlist out. I'm sure everyone will be wanting to know how to find that information. So it should have been provided to you. Question number 2, where do we find out if a project is considered metro, non-metro urban, suburban, rural designation? So that is through the geographic designation map. And Kate showed us a screenshot of that map, a very helpful visual. However, I do want to know if you're having trouble navigating this map, you can ask a technical advisor for assistance. It is an option. I just wanted to point that out. So if any of you happen to answer, ask a technical advisor, you are technically correct. So you have some assistance. And question number 3, we just went over this. How can I see what version of the Performa I am using? The correct answer was the version number on the instructions tab. Nathan did a really great job of explaining this. However, again, I want to point out, if you are having trouble navigating the Performa, or you're unsure if the version that you're using is the version you should be using, Nathan mentioned in his presentation who you should reach out to, but technical advisors are also available to help you out. So again, if you answered ask a technical advisor, you are technically correct. So thank you all for participating in this knowledge check. Hopefully everyone's acing these questions. We will continue with our presentation. We're going to pass it along to Kate Allen once again, and she's going to talk to us about the final steps in the ORCA process.
Thanks, Aurelie. So financial eligibility is where we get to really dig into projects. This step in the ORCA follows the issuance, the review and approval by the Housing Stability Council and the issuance of a letter of intent. In impact assessment, you are asked to submit a whole bunch of documents, the standards for impact assessment. And then once you've uploaded all of those, we then do a comprehensive review of all of those submissions. Financial eligibility stage gets a lot more interactive. So just to review, financial eligibility step focuses on the financial aspects of the project, requiring applicants to submit their lender letters of intent from financial partners, well-developed construction and construction cost estimates, and a full pro forma. OHCS evaluates adherence to the project design and policy priorities proposed in the impact assessment step. And this step results in an update to the letter of intent given at impact assessment, conditionally committing resources for projects. The financial eligibility step typically occurs about 1 year before closing. OHCS evaluates the project's financial pro forma for adherence to underwriting standards, project costs, and construction standards. Adhering to proposed timelines and plans is critical. Any significant deviation from the proposed timeline, project design, or policy priorities described in the impact assessment step will result in the loss of the letter of intent for resources and require the project to return to the impact assessment step. So some kind of key messages around moving into financial eligibility once you've received that letter of intent. This is where there is a maximum time of 6 months to complete this step. Clearly, you will be in communication with your production analyst through this period of time. And so any updates or challenges the project are facing can be communicated immediately with the production analyst, who will be your partner in solving for any challenges that come up. This stage of project evaluation is intended to be an iterative process and not an application that should be submitted at the end of the timeline. So key messages, don't wait, start early. Financial eligibility review period is 6 months and it goes by fast. Begin submitting materials as soon as you enter financial eligibility. Great thing about your Procorum Work Center is that while you won't be able to submit information in a step that is ahead of where you are, you can go in and look at what you need to be preparing and then be ready to upload things as soon as that element of the Procorum Work Center opens. We want you to hit milestones. So we expect to see significant progress on your financial eligibility task completion by the 3-month mark. And staff will be in touch if we're not seeing activity. Timing's everything. Financial eligibility process officially begins after a successful Housing Stability Council motion. Minor exceptions timing-wise for bond deals, but again, you would be in direct contact with the production analyst who is working on your project. I previewed this pro tip about working ahead. That you can download the documents in the financial eligibility step, even as you are still completing your impact assessment. So you know what's going to be needed there. And then we will just want to reiterate that it is a partnership. The review is an interactive process with your program analyst. Expect back and forth communication. And as Areli has mentioned, technical advisors are always available. If there are broad questions, we can help support those. And then we're going to shift to the next slide. We do want to touch on just kind of reviewing what the final step in the ORCA process is. So clearly, when you receive that commitment letter, that is the step that requires the application to submit any final architectural plans, final pro forma, final cost estimates, permit approval, and secured investor commitments. Commitment step should be initiated no more than 9 months before closing. We're often seeing projects move through both financial eligibility and commitment in a quicker time frame than that. One of the sort of benefits that we're seeing of the ORCA. So this is absolutely the pre-closing step. So this step evaluates financial aspects of the project in preparation for closing, including adherence to underwriting standards and budget review. After a project receives its amended letter of intent from the financial eligibility step, that project will be expected to submit the required materials for the commitment step within 3 months. In this step, approval of the materials locks in a reservation letter, which commits funding to a project and requires projects to be ready to proceed towards closing. Commitment step should be initiated. Yep, we covered this no more than 9 months before closing. And we, again, this is when closing dates will, and we are looking at being ready to go. So again, as we've gone through these, any questions that come up for you, drop those in the Q&A. We'll be sure and catch those if we're not catching them for you in a response in the Q&A. We're keeping track of all of that, and we will follow up with you either from the application team or from technical advisors. So we'll go to our next slide. We want you to know, and if one of the main things you come away from this training with is the message that there are multiple ways to ask for help. We don't want you to hang out and have questions or be concerned about how to proceed. So we are the link to the ORCA questions and feedback portal will be dropped into the Q&A. That can also be accessed on the ORCA webpage. As we've said a couple of times, the ORCA help page is a great resource. It's where you will see trainings and tutorials on a variety of aspects of the ORCA, some of them technical, some of them broader, more descriptive. Please refer there to previous trainings that are posted. And we want to highlight for you at upcoming technical advisor trainings. So the technical advisor team is planning to launch in the fall a series of technical advisor training topics. Those will be Ask the Expert sessions, where we will have one of our internal colleagues as a subject matter expert with a brief presentation on a variety of topics that we are hearing from folks are important. And then you would have an opportunity for interactive question and answer with the technical advisor team and our subject matter colleagues. So if you have great ideas for us on training topics, that would be another great thing to drop into the Q&A, or use one of those links and message the technical advisors with some items that you might want to see on our training topics. You can always reach out to the application team using the address on the screen there. Application team and technical advisor team work really closely together, as we have on this presentation for you today. Oftentimes, if a question comes in through the application team, they may refer your question to the technical advisor team and vice versa. And finally, I think we just want to emphasize, as Areli has mentioned a couple of times today, technical advisors provide relationship-based support. We want to hear from about projects, new projects, your existing portfolio, and we try really hard to connect you with the right resources and support here internally. And with that, I will turn it back over to Areli.
Thank you, Kate. All right, so we have made it to the finish line. Our presenters have done an amazing job of giving us great content. Hopefully, at the end of this training, you all can take away some helpful tips on how to be successful with ORCA. And more importantly, you know who to reach out to if you have any questions or issues throughout the process. We want to finish off before we go with a post-training pulse check. So we're revisiting the same questions we had at the beginning, just to see how you feel now at the end of the training. So question number 1, after today, how confident do you feel about working in ORCA? Not confident or confidence? Let us know. Be honest. Thank you. Question number 2, after today, how clear is your understanding of where to find ORCA-related information? We talked a lot about where to go. So is it clear? Not clear? Go ahead and let us know. And the final question, how well do you understand, after today's training, how well do you understand the role of technical advisors in your work? Do you not understand? Do you understand? Hopefully you'll be wanting to reach out to technical advisors after this training. Okay, well, we want to thank everyone for attending, for your participation. We do hope that you enjoyed this training. As we've mentioned time and time again, if you do have additional questions that perhaps weren't answered in the Q&A, or maybe you just didn't have a chance to submit it, reach out to the technical advisor team, to the applications team. We made sure that you have their contact information. But thank you for being here with us today, and we really hope you have a great day.